Welcome back to TLDR's daily briefing for Thursday, the 27th of March, 2025. In today's episode, we cover Trump's car tariffs, the South Korean wildfires, and Putin's ill health rumours. But first, Brazil's Bolsonaro is to stand trial on coup charges. Brazil's Supreme Court has ruled that former President Jair Bolsonaro will stand trial over an alleged coup plot that aimed to keep him from power after losing the 2022 election. The court voted to allow proceedings to go ahead against the far-right former president and 7 of his close allies, including his former justice and defense ministers, his navy commander, and intelligence chief. The charges that Bolsonaro faces include coup d'état, armed criminal organization, and attempted abolition of the rule of law. If found guilty, 70-year-old Bolsonaro could face decades in prison. In response to the ruling, Bolsonaro again denied the allegations against him and claimed to be a victim of judicial persecution, saying, "Those in power are focused on ensuring I spend the rest of my life in prison so I can never run for president again." According to the Financial Times, legal experts believe that a verdict is likely before the end of the calendar year, with the trial potentially beginning in the coming weeks. Prosecutors and investigators accuse Bolsonaro and his allies of trying to prevent Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the leftist winner of the 2022 election, from taking power, with a wider scheme involving plans to assassinate Lula, his vice president, and a Supreme Court justice. The alleged offences also relate to the riots in the capital Brasilia on January 8, 2023, when Bolsonaro supporters stormed and ransacked government buildings shortly after President Lula's inauguration. Bolsonaro has previously insisted that he will run again for president at next year's election, even though he's been barred from running for public office until 2030 by Brazil's Superior Electoral Court for his efforts to undermine the country's voting system. While the legal case does pose an existential threat to Bolsonaro's political career and his liberty, the trial is expected to galvanize his most avid supporters. There is an attempt by Bolsonaro and his allies to bring the international spotlight onto the case, with Bolsonaro himself making an apparent overture to US President Donald Trump, and Bolsonaro's son reportedly lobbying US members of Congress and the Trump team. There are, of course, some parallels between Bolsonaro and Trump's political careers. Contentious first terms, followed by defeat, which both refused to accept, and then prosecution that could have scuppered their comebacks. Bolsonaro will naturally be hoping to follow Trump's path, to overcome his legal challenges to triumphantly return to the presidency. However, the Brazilian justice system has moved much more swiftly against Bolsonaro than the US one did against Trump. You're listening to TLDR's Daily Briefing. If you want more explainers on what's happening in the world, then you should check out TLDR's other channels. Today, we released videos on the potential Finlandization of Ukraine and who could succeed UK Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch. You can find those videos linked in the description or show notes for this episode, or by searching for TLDR on YouTube or Nebula. On Wednesday evening, US President Donald Trump announced that the US will introduce 25% tariffs on imports of foreign-made car parts to encourage car makers to build in the US. Trump described the tariffs, which will go into effect on the 2nd of April, as the beginning of Liberation Day in America. In response to the move, arguably Trump's most aggressive tariff to date, Asian and European countries, which are the most likely to be the hardest hit, have said they are preparing to retaliate. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has said that every option is under consideration, and South Korea has promised an emergency response. In early trading on Thursday, the day after the announcement, the Stoxx Europe 600 Automobiles and Parts Index fell 3%, while shares in car makers from Toyota to Stellantis to Porsche also fell. When asked by reporters whether there was anything car makers could do to have the tariffs removed, Trump said, "This is permanent, 100%. At least 27 people have died in wildfires in South Korea, the largest in the country's history, posing a major challenge to South Korea's internally embattled government. Around 37,000 people have been displaced from the southeastern province of North Gyeongsang, and hundreds of buildings destroyed by wildfires that have doubled in size in just a day. Efforts are underway to protect ancient historical sites that lie in the paths of the fires, which have now been burning for nearly a week. Authorities are mobilizing more than 9,000 people and about 120 helicopters to fight the blazes, which have also claimed the lives of 4 firefighters and other rescue workers, and a pilot whose helicopter crashed. It comes at a time of deep political turmoil for South Korea. Earlier this week, the attempted impeachment of South Korea's acting Prime Minister Han Duck-soo was thrown out by the Supreme Court, meaning he resumed his duties only a few days ago. Meanwhile, the country continues to wait for a court's decision on whether to uphold the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol over his impulsive decision to enact martial law at the end of last year. Finally, in an interview with European journalists, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has claimed that Putin will die soon, adding fuel to persistent rumours about Putin's health. Speaking to reporters in Paris on Wednesday, ahead of today's European Security Summit, Zelenskyy said, "It is very important that America does not help Putin to get out of this global isolation now. This is one of the most dangerous moments." He also said that Russian President Putin plans to remain in power until his death, adding, "He will die soon, that is a fact, and everything will be over." The comments add fuel to long-standing rumours about Putin's health, which have surged in the past year and a half, through unevidenced claims about Putin having terminal conditions, receiving cancer treatment, or even having already died. It's not clear exactly what Zelenskyy meant, but it's also not the first time he's commented on Putin's health, having publicly questioned whether Putin was still alive during a virtual address to the World Economic Forum in 2023. That's all for today. We'll be back with you tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen. In the meantime, if you want to support the show, then consider grabbing a copy of our physical magazine, Too Long. The next edition, coming out in April, covers the world's 25 most influential people, as ranked by us, the TLDR team, and you, the TLDR audience. Inside, we unpack who these influential people are, explain how they got their influence, and tell stories about how they choose to wield this immense power. The entire thing is beautifully designed, contains a bunch of other stories, and runs over 72 pages of our best journalism. If you're interested, you can use the code TLDR Daily at checkout to get £2 off your copy, which brings the cost of a subscription down as low as £5.99. Buying Too Long helps to fund all of our journalism, so make sure you do check it out. You can find the link in the podcast description. This was a TLDR News production hosted by Georgina Findlay, written by Rory Taylor and Georgina Findlay, and produced by Scarlett Watchorn. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again tomorrow.